What's up, guys? Almost fell there. Happy Sunday. Haven't been to the farm in like a month or so. Don't know the exact amount of days, but feels like a year, especially after how much we did last year. Got a lot to mow and spray and take care of, so that'll be a pretty big chore. But it's also kind of the start of food plot season, so pretty excited. We're going to be spraying our glyphosate in 2,4-D and really getting half or more of the plot ready to go for buckwheat. And I'm kind of going to explain our, not just the process, but kind of timing for us, and to kind of fix some of the issues that we had last year as far as some of the areas that just didn't come in as well. And we'll head out there and check it out. So let's go. Alright guys, we just got out here with the ATV. We're on our linear plot. Finally things are fairly dry. It's a little wet in some areas. We'll check out the big plot that has kind of a wet spot in the middle, but for the most part I'm glad I'm able to finally get out here and spray and really start to take care of these weeds and get things shaped up. I like when you can kind of see the design of the plot and how things are going to look, especially after that first spraying. I want to show you guys real quick. You can see this linear plot that kind of curves and goes through that opening, and you can see the yellow, kind of the biennial of the brassicas, those yellow flowers coming up, which is normal after brassica planting. And then this side was my green side, and you could see the layered rye that I put over the top, but it was my oats, bees, and peas. Probably had you know, a little too many oats. Jeff talks about it pretty frequently, and it is something you guys got to be careful about, to either, you know, not smother out any of the crops. You can eliminate the oats altogether in your blend, or just make sure you keep a smaller amount. So this year, I think I've been talking to you guys, you know, this wasn't a pure hunting farm before I captured this, or I bought this property. So really looking to build the herd a little bit more, which is not the same in most people's case, I would say. And for that reason, we put clover on this side of the plot. Now, of course, it being so early, and even though I did frost seed clover, it takes a while for clover to get established. So I'm trying to find some, you know, young clover that is coming up, but it's going to take a little while, and I want to give it time. I want to let the rye, you know, potentially be a little bit of a cover crop. It would be fine to spray it out now, but what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray the brassica side of the plot. Because that's where the buckwheat's going to be going. I'm not going to be planting buckwheat excuse me, on this clover side. And so I'm going to let this grow a little bit, try and get that clover a little more established, and I'll probably do two things. One, I'm going to come in and mow, because that rye is going to get a little too long, and I don't want it to get so bad it shades out the clover. It just will provide those early stages a little less weed competition and help things out from that perspective. So after that, I'll come in and mow, and then I'll give it a little more time, and after I mow, things grow up just a little bit, I'm going to spray it with a light spraying of glyphosate. And if you guys don't know glyphosate, don't get me wrong, it can kill the clover, but if you spray, you know, just glyphosate and maybe you reduce it just a little bit, the amount, your clover should be fine. And I'm going to show you today a different area where I've sprayed at least twice glyphosate, potentially even 2,4-D, but I'm not positive, I can't remember, and I still have a strong stand of clover where I do not want the clover to be. So I'm going to take you back and show there, but that's going to be my two-stage process for this clover plot, and it'll still probably be quite spotty this year. It won't be great until the following year, which is fine. So we're going to baby it, we're going to give it time. Maybe we'll even overseed again this winter or fall, which will be the second or third time. But really, for this original planting, we did some in the fall last year, and then I did some again in the winter, if you remember that. And you know, we'll do it again later. So we're going to give it a little time, but I think, you know, at least for this small portion of the linear plot, having a little clover will give us a little more diversity and hopefully help these family groups get established, especially in the new bedding that we're creating. Check this out, guys. I just pulled up some of this biennial brassica and these leftover seeds that got reseeded, and the worm just went back in, but I wanted to show you guys how good this soil is and how moist it is. It was much cooler. I mean, it ripped up. There was a huge ball of roots. You can see the roots. And the main reason I wanted to show you that is just because as we rotate these crops from rye to buckwheat to our fall foods to the nitrogen pockets that our brassicas create, it's all continually helping the soil. And while I probably do need to do another soil test, because I'll be coming around the 2-year mark, get a little more lime down, I'd like to see, the progress that we've had. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. But really need to pull things up like that, which is much different than just literally not even 20 yards that way. And there's some sandy pockets and a couple other things that nearly are not even close to as good as where we've been planting briefly for our plots. You can see our switch still pretty dormant for now. We've really just started to have warm weather over the last week or two, so I'll keep you guys posted, but that second-year switch should be great. We did get spraying on about half of our switch, if you remember that, because it was just so wet I couldn't spray all the switch, so it is what it is. But we will check it out, we will check on the difference, and I'm excited to have these nice walls for screens for the deer and for ourselves. So I'm gonna get this spraying done, and then we'll check out that clover, and I'll talk a little bit about kind of why we don't want that food in that area. All right guys, check this out. This is not even the area I was talking about. This clover actually looks really nice. And I have my linear plot here that runs to the wood line. And you can just see, this was probably when I initially started a plot. And I did not really spray very well. I was using a backpack sprayer. I mean, there were so many things going against me. I was trying to do a spring planting, just so many things that were not super smart. I probably wouldn't do again. But here we are years later, and I definitely have sprayed on the linear plot multiple times, including even this. I know I didn't just always miss this, but maybe with 2,4-D I did, or some effect, and you can just see, and even back there, there's just these quite large clover patches that did not die with everything else. So if you guys have sprayed clover, you have things lingering, pay attention, go back and look. While right here it's not a big issue, our plot's going this way, we're going to draw deer along this anyway, even though this was the brassica half and we have our clover on the other half. I am going to show you real quick where we don't want it. Look at the size of this track. Love seeing those. We actually have quite a few antlers growing, with the velvet, of course, but for early May, some of these pictures are pretty neat, seeing all the growth, especially some of them that have a decent amount of mass. So pretty exciting. Hope you guys are starting to see the same. Guys, check out the difference just in soil, how much better this looks right here. Can you tell which side is rye and which side was the brassica side? I mean, it's just crazy. So funny how just the different soils and the different pH levels and the different nutrients in the ground and how much it can affect everything, especially things that need, a little bit higher pH, like clover, for example. But even with rye, I mean, this is literally 4 or 5 times better than what we were seeing on the other side of the farm. I just thought it was interesting and something for everyone to keep an eye out, because some may take a little more spraying or a little more work, and some might have quite a difference in the cover crop it's going to create, like on this side of rye that looks pretty dang good, and will probably need to be mowed or sprayed quite soon. Crikey, look at the size of this track, mate. He's bloody huge. Alright guys, so we are halfway through about spraying or so, and I think maybe the clip came off the battery, so we're taking a quick break. The linear plot we have, like I showed you before, going right to the woods. But over here, more towards the middle of the property, I have a camera, so every once in a while you guys see, some pictures from deer cutting through this, because on the other side of this kind of small circle where we planted trees and initially, had a food plot here before we started to actually hunt it properly, I had, again, some first year clover that I had put down and, you know, sprayed and for the most part forgotten about. And you can see here, it is coming in beautifully if you like that kind of thing. So again, here's a pretty good chunk. Nothing too crazy. The deer are just consistently coming through here. This was a lot of the old rubs that were just tore up that I've shown you guys previously. But in a spot like this, and I've actually noticed this on quite a few different clients that we visited, is that when we expect more deer to be bedding back here, and it's the 2 feedings of the day, and we're trying to get them out to our food plots for that 3rd feeding of the day, if you have other green or soft mass towards their bedding area, then you're really giving them less of a reason to come to these other plots and see you. And in this case, right near bedding and where I have no tree stand towards the center of my property, I now have quite a decent amount of clover that I need to get rid of. That way they'll be more likely to hop on that linear trail, walk by one of my stands, and give me as many opportunities as possible. It's kind of the same reason why that we don't want you planting apple trees back where in your bedding areas. You know, where they're more focused on the woody browse, but if they have other food and, you know, they're selective feeders, they're gonna hop onto that other food right next to their bedding area if they can. So we're trying to make things as best as we can to give us as much opportunity as we can. And in this pocket, there's just still an extensive amount of clover. I'm shocked. I mean, this is not only so old, I have sprayed it before, because this is actually some switch through here. And so, you know, I've come through with ATV, I've done simazine, I've done 2,4-D and glyphosate, just like our normal processes. And even though it's not perfect, I'm still shocked at how much clover is growing well here. We're not gonna bother spraying any of this though. It's just gonna be, again, the trees that we planted, see if we can find some a while back. And hopefully over the next year or two, this will be a lot thicker. These pines will grow a lot taller and the deer will have a little more diversity and a little more bedding back here. I will say, guys, the difference that the cutting that we did, and I brought you multiple videos from that one cutting area, has been substantial. We have deer basically in and out of there every day, sometimes multiple days, multiple times in a day, and it's crazy. It's so much more movement than what we were used to here, and really shows the progress that we're seeing, which I wanted to bring to you guys. So here are some of our trees. So they're not bad. They're getting 2 to 3 feet tall. This one a little taller. I mean, that's quite above my knee. I'd say probably getting closer to 3 feet. So another couple years. They're not putting on much width. I'm a little surprised. I mean, they're getting there, and I know they have some competition with the other stuff, especially if you guys remember when we did some of the stuff last year. We planted some of the trees, not the ones this year. The biennial from the brassica, it got quite tall. It got to probably 5 feet, some up to 6 feet. So I'm sure that, you know, didn't give quite as much sun to these pines as we would have hoped, and slowed down their growth process. So we'll see how tall this yellow rocket gets, and hopefully the other smaller ones from this year still make it. And yeah, so just to kind of wrap it all up, guys, make sure in your bedding areas and areas you're not hunting, we're saving these green food sources for that 3rd feeding of the day in your food plots where we want our stands to give us as much opportunity as possible. I'm gonna do the best I can to give this a good kill without killing the switchgrass. Gonna be some precise spraying with the sprayer, and that's really gonna hone in on the plots that we have. So I'm kind of debating doing a glyphosate spraying over that clover. I might set it back a little bit, which is perfectly fine, but I just see all this other stuff coming up in different areas, and I know if I go too long, the rye and the different, you know, mare's tail and things like that will choke that out pretty quick, and who knows when I'm going to be back. So good luck to all of your sprayings. Keep an eye on those Roundup resistant weeds, and make sure you guys are using the right herbicides. If you get any questions, leave them in the comments below, and hopefully I'll be out here soon and see you guys next time.